independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The president calling Mueller's testimony a big day for the Republican Party and for him.
What he showed more than anything else is that this whole thing has been 3 years of embarrassment and waste of time for our country. This was a very big day for the Republican Party, and you could say it was a great day for me, but I don't even like to say that.
Over more than 6 hours in the hot seat, Mueller largely referring to the specific wording of his report, though on multiple occasions refuting some of the president's claims about the investigation.
Yeah, was it a big day? All the Republicans had to do was hold serve, right? Like tie goes to the runner, and right now the president is the runner. So they didn't do the things that they really wanted to do. The left will try to shape it any way, shape, or form, but there's no appetite in this country. And yesterday was not a great day, and we didn't find out a lot of different things. I mean, there was a lot of, I refuse to answer that. No. Here's a snippet of just some of that 7 hours of testimony.
I'm not going to discuss other matters. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to engage in discussion about what happened after the production of our report. Not going to get into details. That's not within my purview. Well, I can't get into who wrote it. I can't get into that, internal deliberations. I can't get into it. I am not going to get into that. I don't want to speculate. Well, I'm not going to go further in terms of discussing. I don't necessarily credit what you're saying occurred.
Yeah, lots of that yesterday. And Alan Dershowitz said something very interesting about this, essentially saying, look, you know what? I got to question whether or not he even wrote this darn thing.
The usual role of a special counsel, as, for example, in the Starr Council, is really to go over every word and to make sure everything is his product. There's every reason to doubt that that happened in the instance of the Mueller report. And so I'm very concerned about who really was in charge of the Mueller investigation and the Mueller report. It does not seem like Robert Mueller played that crucial and important role.
Yeah, and I think that's becoming more evident that, he wasn't familiar with a lot of the material. And some of that, I've heard everything from people question his sanity and whether he's all there to he didn't write any of this to, several other, crazy wackiness. But I tried to explain to people yesterday. He's got 500 pages. They have 3 or 4 pages they're going to go over. They're going to ask you some questions here and there, stuff that they've been, he's trying to remember everything. What ends up happening is he oversees everything. He's supposed to put it together like a puzzle piece. He goes over it all, puts it together, and he should know it pretty much top to bottom, and he struggled with it. He did. He struggled with it yesterday. And look, the whole thing was about trying to paint a picture. So their opportunity potentially was there to look at the people and say, now you know. Now you understand. Now we can go and try for impeachment. That's what it was all about, right? For them. You didn't read the book. Let me show you the movie. That's what I kept hearing. You didn't read the book? Here's the movie. Here's the musical. Here it is. Here's the television show. It doesn't get any easier than this. And it fell like a thud, right? Because Americans are kind of over it. And people, Chad, this is wrong. He's evil. He's bad. They said he could be indicted afterwards. He could be. Well, there's a lot of questions out there. One question I have is, so you can go down the road and come up with an actual decision on whether or not there was collusion or whether or not there was any kind of conspiracy or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? And that goes on with the Russia side, but you couldn't come up with an obstruction of justice because he just didn't go down there. And while he didn't say that the president was off the hook with that, he also didn't say he had done it. We're not going to know the truth. That's what everybody needs to know. We're not going to know the truth in this. It is what it is. Time to move on from it. I think that's the reality of this. Now, will it happen? Will we move on? No. I think there's the powers that be that are out there they want to keep this going. And the reality is they're going to keep this going in a way that is going to hopefully, for them, damage him in his 2020 reelection. That's where they're going with this now. What can we do? Can we damage him? No. At this point in time, I think people are over it. They just want to see, okay, what are you guys going to do? Here's my thing. You had the opportunity. You took over the House, right? You were talking infrastructure, health care, all kinds of things. Even Trump has handed you infrastructure. Even Trump has handed you, well, albeit you don't like it, but he's handed you stuff on immigration that he's willing to give you up to 2 million people instead of the 700,000. There were things he was willing to do, and you wanted no part of it. You spent most of your time. Name one thing Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler have done in the last 2 years that doesn't involve Russia. Right? I mean, name some stuff. That's all they talk about. You've got the opportunity to get stuff done. And yet at the same time, see very little getting done. The American people are looking around going, you want to do all this stuff? You said you're going to do this, and this is it, and here it is, the blue wave, and it's time this, that, and the other, and here you are. We're waiting. Infrastructure, it was there, but now it's not, right? You're going to go in and try to save health care and do something with that? It was there, but no, much like the Republicans, you fell on your face. And with immigration, this is because we are so tribal and so much of it anymore is social media mess in the division that we live in, that bipartisanship, as Paul Mitchell said yesterday on the House floor, as he said, I'm done, right? A Republican from Michigan said, I'm done. Getting a bipartisan bill through this is impossible because nobody cares about doing it. They only care about the politics, the looks, and the sound bites. And that's what it's become. You have 435 people, of which 400 of them care about keeping their fiefdom and raising money. And that's a problem. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Mueller did warn of something, and I have a question for the GOP and Mitch McConnell.
Robert Mueller with a warning for members of Congress.
Oh, it wasn't a single attempt. They're doing it as we sit here. And they expect to do it during the next campaign.
Russia hasn't stopped trying to meddle in U.S. elections. He also said of their wide-arching social media campaign that many other countries are developing capabilities to, quote, replicate what the Russians have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look out there and I see there are tons of bills sitting there that Mitch McConnell won't take up. And not all of them are great, but in strengthening our cybersecurity for our elections. Now, let's remember, most of this stuff was used as division. And for those of you not keeping score, it was done on the benefit of everybody's behalf as far as the disinformation. There was just as much disinformation about Trump as there was about Hillary. You had the Black Lives Matter. Russia hacked and did a bunch of stuff. I mean, not hacked, but did a bunch of stuff for them. It was about dividing us even more, trying to kill us from the inside out rather than try the outside in, because they know they can't do that. But think about this for a moment. China is a big dog. Russia, I mean, they got nothing. Right? Like, the reality is, think about what China can do comparatively. Look at Russia. Russia's got nothing. Got financial problems. They're not some massive military threat. All of this stuff. The facts are that China, you don't think China's coming? You don't think Iran's coming? North Korea's coming? Of course they are. They just wanted to exploit us, and they did. Stuff wasn't changed. Nobody hacked in and changed votes. But the reality is we need to get ahead of this. And Mitch McConnell and the Republicans better pay attention. They did hack. They hacked the DNC. They did sow division in this country when it came to our elections. And we played along with it. We opted in to divide ourselves. So let's not forget that. We need to figure out how we go about doing some of these things, in combating some of these. We'll always be behind. The good guys are always behind the bad guys in situations like this. But I have a question, Mitch. Why aren't you getting on it? Why aren't you guys taking up something? There are some of those bills I looked at. They're not very good. Some of them are interesting, including ad buying transparency when it comes to some of these things. So if you're buying ads and you're doing stuff on social media in certain areas, they want transparency. And I think that's a good thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Guess what? Finally, he's gone from Puerto Rico.
For the hundreds of thousands who had been demanding Governor Ricardo Rosselló step down, he made it clear in his late-night address to the island their demands were overwhelming. The streets of Old San Juan erupting overnight. Moments after the governor announced his resignation, the celebration was underway.
What is this like right now? Describe this moment.
This is amazing. This is what we all wanted.
As the embattled governor's message started, it was incredible to watch. The crowd's silence. They got huddled together. They were holding their phones to their ears as that highly anticipated address streamed live. Victor Oquendo, ABC News, San Juan.
Yep.
For the hundreds of...
Done and dusted. Done and dusted. He's out. Could not take the pressure. It was too much. People were dropping around him like flies, and you could tell that the country wasn't going to take it anymore. And I thought he would try to stay on. I did. But at some point in time, I think people around him said, you cannot do this, right? Like the country's at a standstill in a country that's still a mess because of the hurricane. So now what? I don't know. They were partying like something big was going to happen. And if you guys don't know the story, he had a bunch of text messages and emails and correspondence with people that was homophobic, misogynistic, sexist, leaked, and from that moment on, and 400 pages, by the way, he had no chance. He had no chance whatsoever. Zero chance. He was done. Plus, it's been a mess. He's not led from the front, I'll tell you that. Now what, Puerto Rico? Now what? What's your next thing, right? People start celebrating, yeah, like it's all going to change. And then like what? What's next? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Slept so well last night, traveling tonight and down in Los Angeles, California. And I'm taking my Go Anywhere pillow from My Pillow, but My Premium Pillow is so amazing. And right now, they're offering my listeners, My Pillow, something so amazing. Less than $70, 2 premium My Pillows, 60-day money-back guarantee, free shipping. Boom. Same amazing My Pillow, right? That gives you the 10-year warranty and the machine washable and dryable cotton made right here in the USA. They're just doing it at such a low price, and they're putting their money where their mouth is with their 60-day money-back guarantee. You can get it right now. Simple and easy. Go to mypillow.com, use the promo code Benson, and that 60-day money-back guarantee shows me that they really want to put their money where their mouth is, and you are going to absolutely love it. I sleep so amazing. So will you. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. 2 premium My Pillows, less than $70, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The House easily passed the 2-year spending and avoid another debt ceiling crisis bill.
The yeas are 284.
But some Republicans, including Kentucky's Thomas Massey, saying that just delays fixing the debt problem.
I have an amendment at the desk to change the title of the bill to a bill to kick the can down the road and for other purposes.
Yes, they had a vote on that. It failed. Next stop, the U.S. Senate. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I talked to Congressman Andy Biggs. There were plenty of Republicans who voted against it, and 16 Democrats, if I'm correct, voted against this because it is so massive. Normally, when you increase spending on the military, and let's be real, Obama cut a lot of the military. So when you increase spending to bring it up to certain levels, for every dollar you spend there, you must spend it on domestic projects here. And what they're saying is they spent $1 on military and $1.50 elsewhere. So it's ridiculous. It is once again showing that both sides love to spend money, and that's not changing anytime soon. When it's other people's money, they don't care. It's that simple. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. All right, so I got a poll question up today. And it's interesting because I don't know how I feel about this, right? Halloween is my favorite holiday, or whatever you want to call it. But it is. It's my favorite time of the year. And there's a petition that has gained a ton of steam, and many people are supporting it, to change Halloween to the last Saturday of October. So instead of going trick-or-treating on the 31st, if it's a Tuesday, you would go on the Saturday before that. It's interesting. It is. And the petition is gaining a bunch of steam. And part of the thing they said is, look, it's tough for people to get off work. There's tons of traffic. It is going to be safer. It can last longer if we do something like this. I kind of like it because, as dad of little ones and got to take off and I'm not going to miss any of the trick-or-treating and doing those kind of things. I want to be around that kind of stuff. How do you feel about it? I like it. This to me is more entertaining than Mueller. It's like, what should we do with Halloween? Do we leave it alone? Or do you think it'll be better for all? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. 68% say leave it alone. Let me know. You can text the program 323-538-2423. Here's the call-in line. I get so many people say, you give out your phone number, and then I try to call you, and I've not heard you. One person wrote me yesterday, said, I've listened to you for 2 years, and I have never once heard you take a phone call. I rarely do, if ever. And the reason is, isn't it easier to text? You don't have to wait online, those kind of things, right? The other stuff is so... But if you want to, Phil may or may not know how to take a phone call. It is 844-DIG-CHAD, right? As opposed to my text line, which is 323-538-CHAD, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. To wax or not to wax? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I can wax poetic. This next story, get your shine on. Dateline, Canada. So a transgender woman named Jessica Yanich, I don't know. Who, by the way, is not fooling anybody. Right? And very creepy. Some of the text messages and things but she, and if she wants to be called Jessica, I got no problem with it. Again, whatever you want to be called, I got zero problems with. Right? You want to identify as a woman? You want me to call you Nancy? Right? And I knew you before as, Nick? Nah, no problem. That's what you want. It's what you got. You got that. But is upset and has gone to the Canadian Human Rights Board, filed a complaint. She claims that at least, one of many different salons, but one she's going after specifically, would not give her a Brazilian wax job. And people are upset. They're upset. And this is the first time I've seen real pushback by an average person who's afraid to push back in a situation like this because they're afraid they're going to get, the liberal launching pad is going to land on top of them and they're going to start firing away. That people are upset, like saying, okay, wait a minute here. You want to shut down and you want to go after these people here because she doesn't want to handle your junk. She doesn't. She doesn't, right? She just doesn't. And I have nothing wrong with that. Sorry. I'm sure there's some people that do. But at some point in time, look, here's the deal. You want to be called a woman, you believe you're a woman, you believe you're a man, whatever it is, that is great. Scientifically, you still have that junk. You got those things scientifically. In your mind, you may feel it, all of that stuff. But from the scientific side of things, right? Like, I'd like to be 6'3". I could identify at 6'3". I can measure myself. I'm still 5'10". Right? I can't write 6'3" and it be true. And I got zero problems with this. And she went after a bunch of people, right? And of course, some go out there. You got the liberal. Oh, we're coming after you. How dare you do something like this? You deserve to lose your job and your livelihood. Look, I don't care. She says she's also like, nobody would give her a pedicure, and nobody's going to give her a manicure, nobody's going to do this, that, and the other. And I'm sorry. That I call BS on that. I feel like you're looking for things, right? Because I'm a man, and if I want to go to a pedicure and a manicure, they're going to give me a pedicure and a manicure, right? Now, if I go in and ask for a Brazilian, it's not, and they don't want to give it to me, sorry. It's just, this is the insanity, though, of the world that we live. This right here is the insanity of, well, it's got to be, she's a woman, so you got to do it. But she's got, she's still got the junk, right? And so, but she's a woman. I know that. I know. Okay, I get it. She's a woman. But I'm just saying, still has the junk, right? She may be a woman, but she's a woman with a weenie. Yeah, you're not politically correct. No, I'm not. And I tell you what, the more that I listen to these things, and I know it was the guy that used to head up St. John's Hopkins, who said a couple months ago, and he's an older guy, he classified this for years as a psychological problem. And he said, look, you know what? You find in a lot of colleges now that political correctness and politics is overriding science and fact in a lot of things. And people are more afraid to come out and say the truth about certain things, right? And people, oh, no, but he's like, it's not just this. There's a lot of things out there where it's just easier to go along with everybody because it seems like it's the right thing to do. It does. But I don't have a problem. If you know what? The beauty, I mean, I'm sure everybody's going to lose their jobs because of this. I'm sure everybody's going to be fired. I'm sure they're going to have to close down everything. They're going to sanction people because they didn't want to handle her weenie. But I'm just saying, at some point in time, when do we find some sort of normal ground where sanity takes back over? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. And I'm not one of these people say, oh, if she, she came here and she wanted to be called Jessica, I call her Jessica. Right? I do. I got no problem with that. Again, if you want me to call you Batman because you believe you're Batman, then you're Batman. I got no problem with any of that stuff. Whatever you believe, whatever you want to identify, is zero problem with that. You want to live your life like Batman. You want to live your life like Superman. You want to do all of those things. You want to be a woman. You want to be a man. Zero problems with any of it. But I'm also not an idiot. And if somebody else doesn't believe you're Batman, I don't think you should be punished for it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. What are we going to do, with all the Mueller talk? We've got to figure something out. I asked Congressman Eddie Biggs earlier today. We were talking about the beefing up the security. And there's a lot of things out there that we need to look at when it comes to elections and the security there. And we're not taking it, I think, as serious as we need to take it. And I know there's infrastructure problems. And at the local level, he told me, look, they don't have the intelligence capabilities at the local level and the funding along with the FBI. Plus, you've got 4 or 5 other agencies. And I understand that we must do something.
Bob Mueller said it yesterday during my questioning at the Intelligence Committee that, this was not a one-time thing by the Russians and that they're probably doing it while we were sitting there.
Yeah, so are the Chinese, so are the North Koreans. Israel's going to do it because Israel that's what they spy on us, for God's sakes. I mean, we all spy on each other. It's a very incestuous world we live in. Russia's going to do it again. Iran will do it. So there's going to be a lot of nations that will have their say in this, and it's just how do we get forward? But remember, a lot of what, quote unquote, was, I think we take it too far when they talk about the election hacking, because no votes were changed. Nothing was changed. What it was subversion. It was the slowly but surely we're going to get in there and we're going to get you guys off talking about certain things. We're going to divide you guys. We're going to make that, there's already a bit of a division, right? Because it's red, blue, but we're going to really highlight those things. We're going to really do some stuff that's going to be crazy. And that's a lot of what it was. Both sides got it, right? The right and the left. So what are we going to do to stop it? Well, first of all, we as a group need to understand that, all right, this is what it is. We've got to understand what it is. We've got to understand what's going on out there. And I will continue to tell everybody this. As you move forward and we get closer and closer, to, first of all, going to the primaries with the Democrats, and then on to the general election for it. If you're serious about information, you will seek out information to find out if it's true. If you're not serious, then you don't care, right? You're just going to go with whatever is that fits the narrative that you want. And I think too often than not, people will ignore certain things because they don't want to hear that there's another side to a story that may contradict what's going on out there. So that's a lot of what it is as well. So it makes it easier to divide something that's already divided. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love talking to every single one of you. I find this interesting. So Trump's been tweeting all day about ASAP Rocky, who's in jail still in Sweden. And they're talking about him and what exactly took place. And I do find this to be interesting with the fact that he filmed some of this.
The Platinum artist has maintained he acted in self-defense, posting video moments before the melee, where you can hear Rocky repeatedly tell the 2 young men to back off.
We don't want no problems with these boys. They keep following us.
The 2 men involved in the street fight with Rocky and his crew have criminal records and are not in custody. Prosecutors now revealing they will come face to face with Rocky when they testify at trial.
Yeah. So they followed him. They got in his face. He filmed this, did all of that stuff, and he's the one in jail. They have a criminal record. Trump he's been out all day. Free Rocky, and just, it's so bizarre. Like, he's like, I don't know what Sweden's doing for us. We do and do for them, but they don't do anything for us. So it looks like this thing's going to go to trial. So he's got himself an attorney, but I just found the whole thing bizarre. So, and I watched the film. So they're following him. He's posting them following him and giving him a lip, if you will. And yet he's the one in trouble. Sounds more like it's America than Sweden. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Halloween, should it be moved? Very interesting. It's the poll of the day. I find it to be kind of an interesting thing because there's a petition that's flying around that's actually growing. That Halloween should, trick-or-treating time, if you will, should be the last Saturday in October. So whatever day that is, right? whether it's the 28th or the 29th or whatever. It's the last Saturday in October rather than a weekday. So that's a very interesting thing. 69% say, nah, leave it alone. 31% say, you know what? It would be better. As much as I'm a purist in a lot of this, and Halloween is my favorite time, I got to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind it. You celebrate both, right? You can have a fun night where you're watching movies and relaxing, enjoying your Halloween, and still have your Saturday. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. Online videos and video game players are doing what? Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Two-thirds of Americans who play video games online have experienced severe harassment, like physical threats and stalking. That's according to an Anti-Defamation League study that found nearly three-quarters of gamers have experienced some form of harassment. Extremism was also reported. 23% of respondents said they were exposed to white supremacy conversations. 8% said they had exposure to statements sympathetic to ISIS. The game with the most reported harassment was Dota 2. 79% of its players who responded said they had experienced harassment.
Now, I don't know how much of that is harassment and how much of that is bullying, and how much of that is just a bunch of people being Richards, right? Because they get too into these games and they play them and they scream and yell at each other, and it also shows you over and over again no repercussions when you're 500 miles away, right? Everybody talks a good game, if you will, when they're far away. Now, there are people that have lost their mind playing these games. There are people that recruit people playing these games. But for all intents and purposes, I think a good majority is people are just sitting in their house. They're playing these games, and they get this serious and into it, and this becomes they lose themselves in this. And they know there's no repercussion. They know that no matter what they say, nobody's going to come through that door and punch them in the face. So they feel they can do certain things. And they go and do it. So, makes me laugh a little bit. But when you live in a world of make-believe, how serious do people take it? Some people overly do it. And again, there are people out there that recruit white supremacist organizations. There are people out there recruit for ISIS. Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff does go on. I'm not saying that doesn't go on. I'm just saying there are other things in this, and I think sometimes we think everything is bullying and harassment. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We were talking about that woman up in Canada. What did you say, Phil? She's a man, baby.
It's a man, baby.
Do you remember, you know what you couldn't do nowadays? You remember Crocodile Dundee, which is a totally harmless movie. But do you remember Crocodile Dundee when they were in a bar at the beginning? And he's in New York. It's like the first time he's ever been there. And he thinks he's the Sheila's all right. And then he goes up and they're like, that's a man. And he goes up and he grabs. You could never do that today. You should take that out of the movie. But this transgender woman is upset because apparently nobody in Canada will give her Brazilian wax because, she's got a bobber, if you will, a junk, a wiener, a penis, whatever you want to call it. And she wants to be a protected class. And that's the thing that she said in one of her tweets. This is not about waxing. This is about businesses and individuals using their religion and culture to refuse service to protected groups because they don't agree with it, or the person uses that to illegally discriminate. No, you know what? Sometimes has nothing to do with whether or not you're a protected group. They may even agree with you. Doesn't mean they want to grab your junk and do it. That's it. Sometimes it has nothing to do with what you perceive as a slight other than, no, I feel uncomfortable and I don't want to do that. That's just it. Can't have that nowadays. People are tweeting in. They're like, dude, you're killing me with the woman with a weenie. By the way, somebody else called in on the text line. Did we not go over this like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago? The call-in line is not the text line. The text line is 323-538-CHAD. 323-538-2423. The call-in line, and again, I don't know, you might wake Phil up. We don't know. We don't even know if we know how to get it on the air, is 844-DIG-CHAD. 344-2423. That is the one to call in. Totally different. Just want to point that out again. And by the way, if you screw up on the call-in line and the tweet line, if you will, or the text line, you shouldn't have the call-in number. You should. This is why I don't do phone calls. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You tweet at us. It's insane. Oh, my God. This is why we can't have nice things, not just here, but globally. This is why. You think the Chinese are going through this? You think they're fighting this baloney? Huh? You think they are? You think somebody's whining about not getting waxed over there? I don't think so. Gotta toughen up, America. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If you look at Watergate, it was several months of hearings.
Watergate?
Support for impeachment was around 19% when it started, and then when it concluded, Nixon resigned.
Yeah, not going to happen. Let's just go over this again. Not going to happen. Unless something drastic happens. And I don't foresee that. There's no more interviews. America doesn't have the appetite for it. Yesterday, so for all of the hoopla yesterday, for all the craziness yesterday, for all of, well, the American people need to know about this stuff, for all of that, right? Because there was a lot of that, right? Like, this is it. This is the book. But now we need to turn it into a TV show. And now we need to turn it into to a movie. And we need the world to see this. We need everybody to see this. This is what it needs to be. This is it. America, can you handle it?
Today, the American people heard directly about what the special counsel investigation uncovered as to Russia's interference in the 2016 election and the president's cooperation with it and obstruction of justice.
13 million people across all networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, C-SPAN, watched it. Soak that in. It's about 2.7% of the country watched it. That's it. So the American people is either 2.7% of the country, and I guess we should all go back to where we came from, or we were working, we have other stuff, by and large, nobody gives a rat's ass. We just want Cliff Notes versions of it, and we're moving on, and we think it's really political. And so, and I think it's that. I think a lot of people just don't care. But Chad, people should care because he is an evil person, and he is un-American, and he is, hey, look, everybody's got their argument. I'm just telling you that the average person in the country is not caring. That the average person in the country is looking around going, yeah, this just isn't on my radar of like cool stuff that I need to pay attention to. And part of that is because politics has become so theatrical that it's hard. For as much as fake news is out there, I look at politics anymore and find a bunch of fake emotion and fake outrage, and it's hard to find out who's genuinely serious about getting stuff done and who else is just playing politics. Because that's what I feel like you're doing. You're playing politics. You're not interested in stuff. So, in the end, America didn't watch. And earlier I asked Andy Biggs, Congressman, I said, hey, Andy, he said, what's up, Chet? I said, why don't we do these at night? Like, if you really want the world to watch, and we do the debates at night because we want the most people to see. This, arguably, right now, because there's 5 million people running for president of the United States, this arguably is bigger. Why don't they hold it at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern that allows everybody to see it? If you're that serious about it. I'm just saying, that's a thought. That's all. Just a thought. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Love hearing from you. So, we talked a bit about this the other day. About the lunch issue in Pennsylvania. So there was a lunch issue where kids didn't pay their lunch. School ran up $22,000 in IOUs. Sent out a letter basically saying we could come take your kids away and give them foster care, because the VIG is running and you're not paying. So we're coming. And everybody freaked out. And then somebody said, hey, I'll make the payment. And then it kind of went wonky and weird from there.
School board members at Wyoming Valley West School District in Pennsylvania having a change of heart when it comes to accepting a donation to pay off lunch bills for parents who fell behind. Local resident Barry Tenenbaum says giving in to giving was the right thing to do.
I think they should accept it, and I think it was a very nice donation as well.
The co-founder and CEO of Philadelphia-based coffee house La Colombe offering to give $22,000 to the district to clear the tab for outstanding lunch bills. That after learning the board sent letters to some parents saying they risked losing their kids to foster care if they didn't pay up.
Yeah, which was stupid, but he said it got their attention, and originally they didn't want to take the money from the guy, partly because he said, look, there a lot of the people that have outstanding debts, they have means to pay it. They just ignored it. So they finally gave in. And now they will get free lunch for everybody for the next 5 years in a program. So everybody's going to get free food for the next 5 years. But it's just, I understood where he was coming from. He's basically saying, look, we're paying for your kids' food. Somebody else literally shouldn't have to eat it. If people they can pay it back, then they should be forced to pay it back. And the programs, when it comes to getting grants and certain things in certain states, are all different. And federal monies, you have to have so many kids, I think, under the poverty line. And it used to be kids would get like a ticket or something, and that was their lunch, and they could go in and get a free lunch. And then other kids had to pay for it. Now, with all the rules, it's just they blanket pay for it. And he took the money. But I understood where he was coming from, which was, hey, you know what? I understand that some of you are struggling, but there's a lot of people on this who've got the means to do it. And you've just shorted us $22,000 because you felt like, well, I don't have to pay it back. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet us. What will the Dems do? Because here's the thing. Impeachment, is it here? Is it there? What are they going to do? But I want to talk about other stuff that they said that they were going to do. And big talk coming from Pelosi.
We will own August and make it too hot to handle for the Senate not to take up our bills.
Well, here's the thing. You promised a lot, right? You did. You promised infrastructure and you thought that they could get something done, and that didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, there was going to be health care, and you were going to fix some of that. And then let's talk about immigration, right? Like you guys are, and you're not going to own August, and I'll tell you why. Because you guys are going home. Many of them are leaving tonight, and the rest of them will leave tomorrow, and they won't be back for 6 weeks. So I'm going to go out on the limb saying August starts next week. So do I think they'll own August? I do not. And I know Mitch McConnell's a pain in the ass. He's not taking up bills that he should be taking, and including bills that I think will help protect the integrity of our elections, or at least give the appearance as to that. And there's a lot of things that he's not taken up on. But it is frustrating because you did promise a lot of stuff. And if you're going to spend the 2 years just chasing Trump, trying to defeat Trump singularly, and then people will look at you and say, so you spent 2 years where you did absolutely nothing. And I get that you're going to pass bills that are going to go down and they're not going to get looked at because Mitch McConnell is Mitch McConnell. And I've always said that the biggest problem for the Democrats is not Donald Trump, it's Mitch McConnell. I mean, if you want to make his life a nightmare, you get Mitch McConnell out of there. And if Trump wins and you have the House and the Senate, you're still not going to get impeachment. You need 67. You're probably not going to have 67 Democrats, and you're probably not going to get several Republicans to join. But you could still make his next 4 years an absolute battle royale. But if you lose this opportunity because you don't want to be seen as giving somebody some sort of victory, i.e., he'll give you 2 million DACA recipients or DACA eligible recipients and help you with the DREAM Act for money funding his wall, and you don't want to do any of these things. Well, you know what? At some point in time, what have you done? And I think it's a fair question to ask, right? Because you got to hold them all accountable. The Republicans got their ass handed to them, and they deserve to have their ass handed to them in the last election. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. It is thine, Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
I'm just trying to stay calm so I can get these words out properly because they're not coming out. I just think I'm gonna have a really big break from social media for a while because it's really just, I know mentally Instagram for me is a problem, and I can't even accept that.
That is an influencer from Down Under. Michaela Testa's her name, and a lot of influencers from Down Under are upset because Instagram has changed the way they do things, and they didn't give people the opportunity to say yay or nay to it. And that is, you can no longer see the likes you have. You can see the individual likes. Whoever likes your post, you can see that, right? But nobody else can, nobody else can see if you've had 1 like or 1 million likes. Well, if you're an influencer, that doesn't help you because it's about eyeballs seeing your stuff. And they say they can get up to $1,000 for every 1,000 likes. So $1 a like, depending on what it is. And this woman's devastated. She's going to have to get a real job. She is upset. And I say get a real job in a, you don't really, you don't have to. I'm just saying, sugar daddy, Chad. And she just, I'm going to have to get a 9 to 5.
So I'm just going to leave for, maybe a couple of weeks so I can get back on track because right now I'm just scaring myself. I don't know what's going on inside my head. And I just wanted you guys to know that the things you say to me really do affect me. And I read them. I do read them. I read every comment. I read every DM. And
I read them. You know what I'm always amazed at when I look at these things? Who's taking these pictures? Who has this kind of time? Right? I'm always amazed. So, I'm looking at her stuff, and she's kind of like a little Kimmy Kardashian, got a bit of the booty, and, she's blessed in the chest, if you will. And as I look at all of this stuff, I'm like, so wait, so you drove out into the middle of nowhere, you put on a thong bikini, and then you had people take pictures of you. Who has this time? It's amazing. But, she's devastated. It's all over now. It's all over. She's got to get a real job. Damn you, real jobs. Damn you. Douglas doesn't like me. At Chad Benson is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Yes, you can. Has your son started repeating himself? Every 30 seconds, it's annoying AF. Well, here's the thing, Doug. I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. It doesn't matter what I say because people don't pay attention anyways. My God, I give out the phone number today for the first time in forever, and I had to look it up. And people still call the text line after I just told them what it is. So, yes, unless you repeat yourself on numerous occasions, you will find more often than not, people do not pay attention. I'm just saying. They don't always pay attention like you think.
We essentially have a felon in the White House. What the American people and members of Congress choose to do with that information, we'll see in the next few days and next few weeks.
We essentially have a felon in the White House. That's Ted Lieu, right? He's not been convicted of anything, Ted. I'm sure you're aware of this. So there has to actually be a full, you've got to go through the whole thing. You can impeach him, and that's still not a criminal trial. It's a political trial. But he would have to leave the White House. He would have to then be indicted and brought up on charges, and then you would have to convict him in a court of law. And yesterday, Mueller saying, them asking, did you exonerate him? No. Also didn't mean he was guilty, and it didn't mean he was innocent, because he said he didn't kind of go down that path at all. So saying he's essentially a felon doesn't make it so, as much as I know a lot of people would like that to be, but it does not make it so. So I just want everybody to understand that as they try to still dig themselves out of this Mueller madness. Should we or should we not change Halloween and the day that we celebrate Halloween, i.e. trick-or-treating? Should we? Should we not? There's a petition going around. I think it's a very interesting thing. I'm curious about it because, as a pops and a dad, I'm interested in always being there for trick-or-treating. First of all, I love Halloween. It's always been my favorite. And I love taking the kids out, right? So what they're saying is, how about this? We're going to move Halloween to the last Saturday of the month of October. So if it's 28th, right? And then Tuesday's the 31st, trick-or-treat night will be on the Saturday before. So what do you think? So far, about 67% of you say, nah, leave it alone. 33% say, I think it's a good idea. And several people text in so far said, it is kind of a good idea. It's interesting. I'm a traditionalist in so many ways. I don't like messing with something like that, but I find this to be interesting. 323-538-2423. Bernie Sanders. Apparently, some people have filed charges against him. Former campaign staffers have said when they tried to unionize, he took retaliatory measures towards them. Everybody wants to talk the game of what they should do for their business and how they run their life when they're in government. And then when it comes at them, they don't like it. Speaking of not liking it, cops getting drenched in New York City. Touch on that. Some more Mueller. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show. Instagram. Boom, Doug. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If you look at Watergate, it was several months of hearings. Support for impeachment was around 19% when it started, and then when it concluded, Nixon resigned.
Yeah. But it also took a ton of time. They're going on recess tomorrow. Mueller's report didn't change anything along the way. We already know everything. Nothing's changing. Nothing's going to come out now. So people have made up their mind. Nothing is coming out. There's no more. There's no more investigations as far as another, special investigator coming in, right? There's no more Mueller time, none of that stuff. So from here on out, it's what? Nothing new is going to happen. So now what? I think the impeachment is dead. Plus, there's no appetite for it right now. There's no appetite for it in this country. There just isn't. And by the time they get back, if they started to hold, think about this. If it took another 6 months before they even decided, okay, now we think we can do it, you're getting into the point where you're looking at February, March, maybe April. That's insane. And then you've got an election in November. And you still have to think to yourself, we got to get some people on our side below in the Senate to even think about any of this. So I just think that ship has sailed. And it's time to look for something else if you're the Democrats, right? Like it's time to say, okay, how do we strengthen ourselves in 2020? We've got 495 people running for president. Who's going to be our best bet? Where are we going as a party? Because we've got a civil war going on between the uber progressive / the squad type and the centrist Democrats. So what do we do? And the person that may be most electable, right? I'm out here in Arizona. There's a big thing that they just did as far as looking at what Arizona looks like. Right. And Arizona is, used to be dead red. And I keep telling everybody it's not. It's going to be purple. You potentially are going to have 2 state senators that are Democrats. Right. Biden is the only one here and in Ohio that beats Trump. So think about that. And that's vitally important. So you better start figuring out where you guys think you're going to go and what your message is to the American people. Because free sounds really expensive. So figure it out. Because you want to impeach him, the best way to do it is impeach him on that night with the American people saying, we've decided we're going to recall you, sir. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. I try to answer everybody. Doesn't always happen, but I try. I do try. This is, so if you didn't hear the story, cops in New York were doused with water. And people filmed it, right? So people filmed these cops being doused. And, of course, they laughed.
No, they falling enough. Oh, they not stopping. Oh, my God. Y'all get back in your car.
And there's people that are pissed. They want and they're looking for the people that did this. And they were just pouring water on the officers. And it wasn't a fun thing like it was hot and they were having fun. They were surrounding them, dumping buckets with little fear about anything happening. And some of them are saying, look, politicians here have essentially neutered us, right? We're afraid to do anything. And we just sit there and take it, which is ridiculous. You have police saying we're going to arrest these people, but also we're asking the question is, do you think that you're right for this job? Because you should have made arrest. You should have done something like that. And the other side of it is, too, is you've got a bunch of people around who are egging people on, right? to go after the police, to do that to the police? Where's the person who steps in and says, you know what, this is not who we are. You need to settle down, right? You may have a beef with the police or feel that you're wronged all the time, but have a little respect for human beings and for the job that they do. And nobody did that. Instead, they laughed and they poured stuff all over them and did it over and over again. And it's not the first time the officers shied away. I remember it was last year, the year before last, where you had an officer who had a chance to stop somebody and instead of doing it, let the person run by. Because she said that there were, and it was, I believe it was in Georgia, it was in Atlanta, and she said, well, you know, there were people that had cameras and stuff, and I didn't want this to become something. Which I think there's a lot of that now. Officers are worried about the optics of a situation. This was not one of those things. You had people surrounding you, getting in your face, dumping water on you, making fun of you, and you did nothing. And the police chief's not happy. But then you've got a lot of other officers out there saying, you can be mad at these cops, but hey, this is nothing to do with them. This is all to do with the way that we're treated here and the higher-ups and what they've done to us and the morale that we have. But there is a sense right now, I think, of, you know, this it's okay to hate cops, whatever cop it is. Case in point, this, out of Chicago, right? A piñata at a street party, but the piñata is a ICE agent.
Fuerte, fuerte. A little girl holding a stick, swinging away at a piñata.
In form of an ICE agent.
All right, break it, break it. Later, a boy takes a crack at it. Woo! Breaking open the controversial candy-filled container.
Think about it if it was something else. Just for a second. Just for a second. Think about if it was something else. Right? Like anything else, right? Like just another person, whatever. Just think about what that would look like. And what I'm surprised is, you know, people are just like, well, really? It's a problem?
The older ones, of course, we'd let them know what it meant. We'll teach them what it meant.
Anthony Martinez heads the Chicago faction of Los Brown Berets, a pro-Chicano activist group that ordered a Batman piñata and turned it into this.
So we're just making a statement.
A statement to the federal government amid what Martinez calls cruel deportation practices.
Taking children from their parents, separating them, let them know that it's not wanted here in this community.
Okay, so do you guys just want to rule yourself? Should we ask everybody to leave and you guys can do whatever you want? You make up your own laws? Well, people are being separated from their family, and that's cruel and unusual. Okay, so what are you saying? You've come here illegally, and it could be from anywhere, by the way, right? Let's remember how many people overstay their visas that aren't from Central America, aren't from Mexico, that are also being deported, but because they don't have a political activist side. Nobody talks about that. And it should be. We should be talking about the people that overstay their visas. Pakistan, India, Canada was, I think, last year the biggest. No, you got to go. Those are the rules. Those are the rules. You got to go. Right? European nations, tons of them. Sorry, there are rules, and we need to follow those rules. I was fortunate enough to live in other countries. Guess what? I followed the rules. I followed the rules. But this is ridiculous. So you're taking an ICE agent, essentially, take your Batman piñata, turn it into an ICE agent, explain to the kids how bad and evil it is. What does that say to the kids in the future? Well, Chad, it just shows you how bad and evil ICE is. So ICE shouldn't do a job, and we shouldn't have any rules. Well, we should have rules, but as long as they only benefit the way that we want them to go. So even if you're adjudicated, you go through the entire system. You say the asylum system's what people want. They want their opportunity, their day in court. They get their opportunity. They get their day in court. And if it doesn't go the way that you want, Screw it.
Images posted online show several other children in line, waiting to take a swing at the political piñata. The photos garnering fans on Facebook, but drawing ire from others, some calling it ignorant, disrespectful, and teaching the young to hate.
The kids who were breaking open the piñata didn't know anything about it.
But you just said you told them. Well, I mean, we tell some of the older ones. And I'm sure the younger ones don't quite understand, but they kind of get it. I mean, kids aren't as ignorant and stupid as you think they are. They don't know the whole story. They don't understand the nuances of it all. But now they think, well, ICE is just this evil, bad. They're just evil and bad. It's nothing but evil and bad. That's all they are. It's just evil and bad. Bad. There's been a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of missteps. I'm not going to lie to you there. But the reality is they have a job to do. And if Congress doesn't like what's going on, there are more than a few opportunities that have come and gone to sort this out. You won't get everything. There will still, even if you got rid of ICE, something else will replace it. And there will still be laws that need to be followed. And if you're not going to follow those laws, then please stop asking everybody else to follow laws, for God's sakes. Well, no, that's not what we're saying, but like it's politics. Plain and simple politics. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is our Twitter. You can tweet at me. Text the program as well. Still the fallout from Mueller. I'm still asking the question, and I think it's a fair question. With all of this stuff going on, why don't we have some of these bills that the House has sent down, and not just this session in Congress, but others to protect what's happening with cybersecurity? I think those are a fair question to ask because there's a lot of stuff sitting out there. Guess what? It isn't getting sorted out.
All of those bills are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, and the president and Mitch McConnell need to get to work to bring those bills to the Senate floor so we can complete our work for the American people.
And I think that's true. And I think we need to get some of that stuff done, right? It's not going to be perfect. And remember, usually the crooks and the bad guys are one step ahead because they're creating software and other things. And we're more reactionary, but we can be more forward-thinking, and it will not be perfect. But nothing ever is. But I think we can at least try to be aware of what's happening and try to combat it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. I do. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
When you use an app to order food and have it delivered, you might wonder, are these delivery people actually getting the tips I added? Until now, the answer from DoorDash, the nation's largest delivery app, was mostly no. Instead, they used that tip to subsidize the workers' wages. In other words, the company effectively pocketed the tips. DoorDash faced lots of criticism after a story in the New York Times exposed this. Now the company says it'll ensure a worker's earnings will increase by the exact amount the customer tips. That's the policy most apps like Grubhub and Seamless say they already had in place.
Yeah, and if you would have known that, you wouldn't have tipped, right? If you would have thought that the money was going to go straight to the company, you'd have been like, I'm not tipping you. I'm not going to tip you. I'm tipping the person that did the job. I'm not tipping you. So it's good that they're doing that. I think that's right. What is a good tip, though? I've never used DoorDash or any of them. I think I've used Uber Eats a few times. And I usually over-tip. I just like, it's like, it's kind of, you brought me McDonald's because like sometimes I'll fly into a city and I'm not going to rent a car. And like tonight, I'm flying out to Burbank and I'm not going to rent a car, so I'll Uber if I want food and there's nothing around there, and I'll be out in Glendale area. I'll Uber Eats it, and I'm just going to give them like $10 or whatever, no matter what the thing costs. But I often wonder, like, what's a good tip for somebody like that? Do you base it on the amount that it cost? right? So if something costs $100, you give them $10. I mean, for me, I don't care if it costs $10 or $100. I'm gonna give you $10 because it's not like you made the food and you served me the food. You drove there, so you should get the same. I think 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. And earlier somebody said you give out the Twitter and everything so much, and the text line, it's annoying. And yet, I tell people how many times with my text line, it's not the number to call. And in the space of God knows what, like 20 minutes today, I've given out the phone number on a few occasions, which I never do. And people still call the other number. So, not giving it out anymore. We don't even know if it works. If somebody called right now, we're not even sure if we can get it on the line.
A woman visiting an MGM casino near Cleveland says the six-pointed star security guards wear on their shirts takes her back to the painful past of the Holocaust. June Scharf told the Cleveland Jewish News she lost family members in the Holocaust, and the star resembles the one Nazis forced Jews to wear on their clothing. MGM says it regrets having offended anyone and is beginning to remove and change that logo.
I have to be honest. I went and looked it up, and I'm like, I don't see it. Like, you're really trying there. Like that. It looked like a sheriff badge is what it looked like. Like, I feel like you're complaining to complain. And now, and isn't that weird? Like, but it shows you somebody complains, one person. So for all the time that MGM's been there, but you can use this at any level, right? At any level of anything in the world of social media and dealing with companies and corporations. One person says, I don't like that. And your reaction is, well, we'll change everything. I watched Family Guy, probably too much, but it's my comfort food. And there was an episode where Peter got to be a Nielsen family, and he got everybody to change their shows based on just him alone. And I just sit there and laugh because I feel like that's what it's like in the world of social media now. It just takes one or two people, right? So there's 360 million people here in America, 7 billion globally. If you have a global company and 8 people complain, your thought is, well, we should change everything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Ha! What do you think of those apples? It's also the Instagram, and we have a Facebook page. So check that out as well. Jeez. People will still call the other line. That's why we don't give out the number. That's why we don't do it. I give people a chance every once in a great while, and they continue to let me down. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is the guy who spent the last 2 years of his life, has served the country his entire life, talking about that work and laying out how unethical, unpatriotic, criminal these actions are, to willingly accept help from a foreign government to obstruct justice. So I think hearing that from the man who did the work was powerful.
The words you just used, those were your words, though. Those were not necessarily his words. His words were typically yes, no, correct. If it's in the report, I agree with it.
That's correct. To use that metaphor, yes, that's true.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of other words, right, that were and weren't used, like this.
I'm not going to discuss other matters. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to engage in discussion about what happened after the production of our report. Not going to get into details. That's not within my purview. Well, I can't get into who wrote it. I can't get into that internal deliberations. I can't get into it. I am not going to get into that. I don't want to speculate. Well, I'm not going to go further in terms of discussing. I don't necessarily credit what you're saying occurred.
So, yes, no, and a lot of not quite sure, can't get into it, don't know, have to check if it's in the report. Look, nothing changed yesterday, right? They hope they painted a picture. Did they paint enough picture for you that everything should change here as far as impeachment? I don't think they did. I think it was a tie goes to the runner, and the runner happened to be the president and the Republicans. So now what? Right? That's the question that people are wondering. What comes next? Because while he didn't say the president did obstruct, he also say he didn't. He didn't say anything. He said it didn't go down that path. Now, you went down another path, and you came to a conclusion, but you decided not to go down that path, which boggles some people's minds. And then there's some questions about whether or not you really even interviewed all these people and did all of these things. I talked yesterday to Republican Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, and she said, he mumbled through. He had definitely some issues, and it was evident along the way that, I don't know how serious he was as far as being the player, even though his name's on it.
What became kind of clear in this hearing is that Mr. Mueller himself didn't really interview all these people, and in fact, he said that, and just him trying to answer questions, to me, it seemed clear that he really did not know this report inside and outside.
No. And I'm not saying Trump didn't obstruct, because I continue to say this. Oh, I'm sure he wanted this thing stopped. If he could have done anything in the world to get this thing stopped, he probably would have. But others ignored. I don't know how serious it was, because you've got to get state of mind. And when people talk about that, there's got to be a certain state of mind behind these things. And they're like, well, he didn't sit down with Mueller. No. And you know what? If you were in a situation, right? Ask any attorney. If you have an attorney friend, if you're in a situation like this and they're looking maybe to get you on anything, including a perjury, even if you miss something, right? Like you got a date wrong, and they say, your lawyer will say, no, it's a trap. So let's not do that, right? That's why they tell you to lawyer up. And your lawyer's going to give you that kind of advice. The truth will never be known. One thing I do know, after watching yesterday, I look over there and I say to myself, I don't know how much he was as involved as people think.
The usual role of a special counsel, as, for example, in the Starr Council, is really to go over every word and to make sure everything is his product. There's every reason to doubt that happened in the instance of the Mueller report. And so I'm very concerned about who really was in charge of the Mueller investigation and the Mueller report. It does not seem like Robert Mueller played that crucial and important role.
No. And some of the other things, the questions that should have been asked are, hey, let me ask you this. So everybody on your team, whether I'm not saying that people can't be one political way or another and still not be, they can still be straight down the middle and are going to deliver you the truth. But when you have people that actively did not like this guy, then candidate Trump, some of them were never Trumpers, and you look and you have X amount of people on your quote-unquote team or squad, and all of them seem to be on one direction. You mean to tell me you couldn't find one person from the right side of the aisle that was competent? I think that's a fair question as well. Think about this for all of you out there. If it was Hillary that won and this had become something like this and they had a special investigator looking into all of these things and everybody had given to Trump or whoever and that they had all, would you not ask the same question? I should hope you would ask the same question. So there's a lot of questions out there, but nothing is ever going to be ever settled when it comes to this. Much like the Benghazi and then the emails, this will follow him all the way through his entire presidency, whether it's another 2 years or whether it is 6. This is going to be with him always. Always. And no matter what happens, for some, he will always have an asterisk by his name. And there will always be the, but if not for, he wouldn't be president. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. The battle is going on immigration. What is happening with that? Well, simply put, it's politics as usual.
You would do the deportation before the reunification without any knowledge of whether the parents are being reunified?
Yes.
So in other words, you're kidnapping the child.
Not kidnapping the child. We follow the guidelines that are out.
Deporting a parent without their child is literal kidnapping.
So, okay, so wait. So should we send them all back? Well, then you can't do that. Right? Because then but see the game right there? That's Chief Brian Hastings and, of course, Rep. Jerry Nadler. Right? And this is the politics that's being played. This is what's happening here. They've been down there on numerous occasions. On numerous occasions now. And they're going down there for photo ops and to walk back and say, oh, it's the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. This is absolutely awful. And now they're all having to defend themselves, busting their ass. And what are they getting for it? What are they getting for it? They're getting told, essentially, that they're Ivan the Terrible and that they're running concentration camps and how bad they are.
In the same way, inappropriate conduct by an agent is unacceptable. It's also unacceptable to broadly paint all agents as heartless and inhumane.
No, it's not. It's totally fine as long as if it's on Instagram and it's my benefit. What are they doing about it? Nothing. They'll debate it till they're blue in the face. They'll raise money off of it till their bank accounts are bursting. But actually dealing with it, well, that's another story.
You can say you passed a bill last week that actually, has standards. That's great. Again, any logically look at it would say it's overbroad and could have been supported by bipartisanly until we added in things that were unworkable. By the way, we didn't talk to the Border Patrol before we actually did the bill to see how we could actually put this in implementation. I guess that's a small oversight.
Yeah, it is. Little small oversight. And even when you talk to them, what do you get? They tell you over and over again, fix the asylum laws. These are the things we need. If you do these things, it will, for all intents and purposes, go from a steady stream and at times a flood down to a trickle. Just a few little things. Let's talk about it a little bit longer. Let's debate it. Because if we do that, then we're giving in to that guy. And in this day and age, either team doesn't want to give in to the other team because it's about a victory for your team or stopping a victory for the other team. It is not about the people, whether it's the people at the border trying to stop all this stuff from happening, the people trying to get in here. You guys are just part of the politics and the collateral damage of the politics. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. I do like hearing from you. We got some good tweets and stuff coming in. I found this to be really interesting. And what a smart thing to do with parking fines in Kansas. Again, here's a fun thing. It sucks to get a parking ticket, but you know what? Yeah, I do this.
The Kansas City suburb of Olathe, Kansas is trying to help students in need this year by offering residents the chance to pay up to $50 in parking fines by donating school supplies. Commercial parking violations are not eligible in the offer. The city of Olathe is looking for everything from number 2 pencils to 3-ring binders and notebooks, among other supplies. Residents have until the middle of next month to take up the city on its offer.
I think that's so cool, right? It's like when you go to an amusement park or a movie and they say, hey, if you bring an unwrapped toy or a candy bar or a whatever, canned food, stuff like that, you get 50% off or you get a free ticket. I think that's like a smart thing to do, right? Like that's because a lot of people are struggling. You know, a lot of people are struggling to get the kids the things they need, supplies-wise. Last week, 95% of teachers in this country pay for supplies out of their own pocket. And in many states, that is a huge struggle for teachers. That is. Now, also inside of there, they say, look, a lot of times we're coming up with things that we don't know we're going to come up for. We ask the parents to get certain things, then we try something else a little bit different. But they're still buying a lot more than they should be. And this is a good thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Speaking of a good thing, working with an amazing organization. They're called Wounded Paw. And you can check them out at woundedpawproject.org and see the amazing works that they're doing. They're going into shelters and rescuing dogs that are going to be euthanized. And they train them to be service dogs. People said for years and years, you cannot do that. Basically, you need to get them as a puppy. You need to train them that way. And they said, no, we can do that. And what they do is they get them with people who need them the most. And that a lot of times it's our veterans, right? Our first responders and their families. People are struggling with loss, whether it's loss of mobility, PTSD, things of that nature. And what that animal can do for that person or that family is amazing. They need your help, though. It's not easy. It's not cheap. So donate, whether it's cash at woundedpawproject.org, or you can also donate your car, right? Truck, RV, you've got something sitting around. I get a lot of people saying, like, I got an RV, it's in storage, I'm not using it. I got a car that I don't think I got a ton for, but I don't want to sell it or trade it in. I just get rid of it. Nope. Give it to them. You're going to get a tax-deductible gift, and what it's going to truly do is change life. WoundedPawProject.org, WoundedPawProject.org, or call 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4PAW, or WoundedPawProject.org. You'll be saving a paw to save a life. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's your Instagram as well, Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader? Fui. Fui, fui, and double fui. What is your language? This is a family show, remember? Fui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
2/3 of Americans who play video games online have experienced severe harassment, like physical threats and stalking. That's according to an Anti-Defamation League study that found nearly 3/4 of gamers have experienced some form of harassment. Extremism was also reported. 23% of respondents said they were exposed to white supremacy conversations. 8% said they had exposure to statements sympathetic to ISIS. The game with the most reported harassment was Dota 2. 79% of its players who responded said they had experienced harassment.
I'm trying to think what harassment is, because I listen to my little brother and his friends play with other people, and there are some people that go over the top, right? And they drop the F-bomb, and they all scream and yell at each other, and it's just, we were never doing that on Atari. Right? It's like I was never playing combat with somebody on Atari, or, Galaga talking to somebody else. This was my friend next to me, and we were saying something stupid. But yeah, I mean, once again, though, you look at this, and it's easy to see why you can harass somebody and or bully somebody or say something, because there is no repercussion. You're not in the same room. It's so easy to call somebody a name or say something horrific that you would never say in person, because there's no fear of that person doing what? Punching you in the chops. That changes everything. If somebody can punch you in the face, you will think twice about saying something. But if you were 500 miles away, playing a video game with somebody you've never met and only see an online profile of, and they're beating you and you're pissed and angry because you put so much into it, then you will say something that you shouldn't say, because there are zero repercussions. Zero repercussions. That in a nutshell is social media and where we are today. Being able to say something, being able to criticize, being able to do something to somebody without the fear of anything happening to you. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Do love hearing from you. Yesterday, well, it was exactly what a lot of people thought it was. Boring.
It's been a pretty interesting day, an historic one, as a matter of fact. A day in which the former special counsel affirmed in public what the Mueller report put forth.
What did you expect him to say? Well, did you expect him to come out? He just tried to confirm everything that was in there. You tried to paint the picture that he's guilty of obstruction. They tried to paint the picture that, look, there was no collusion, right? There was none of this stuff went on, and without the collusion, you can't have a crime. You're trying to cover up something. Well, he didn't say he was innocent. Well, he didn't say he was guilty. So now what? And that's what Nancy Pelosi's going to have to deal with, because she's going to have to go back and try to keep the wolves at bay, and that'll be interesting to see if she can. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Straight Pride Parade is going on, hopefully in Boston. Another one potentially going on in Modesto, California, and they are not the same. Talk about that. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Robert Mueller with a warning for members of Congress.
Oh, it wasn't a single attempt. They're doing it as we sit here. And they expect to do it during the next campaign.
Russia hasn't stopped trying to meddle in U.S. elections. He also said of their wide-arching social media campaign that many other countries are developing capabilities to, quote, replicate what the Russians have done.
Yes, that is absolutely 110% true. People say, Chad, do you think it was a hoax? I don't think it was a hoax. I don't think it was a hoax. I think Trump and them thought they were going to get some sort of dirt. We didn't know what the scale was until afterwards. I don't think the Trump campaign knew the scale of what they were doing. And I will remind everybody, they did it for both sides. They did not hack in and change votes. What they did do was try to divide this. And they took a division that was already starting to show and the cracks were there. And they just, boom, they exacerbated it. Way went. Just our division just exploded and boom. And they focused on the extremes. So let's not forget that. But at the same time, look, there's some questions that need to be answered. And that's what supposedly happened yesterday. But the questions that were answered weren't answered in a way where you can sit there and go, ha-ha! And so now it's time to move on, right? Now it's time to move on. So we move on to what? Well, first and foremost, we move on to this next election, and what are we going to do about it? Know this. China, Iran, North Korea, yes, I'm going to say it, kids, Israel, and Russia, along with probably several others, are going to try to have an impact on our election because of the global impact we have. Just as much as, quote unquote, Russia wanted Trump, you don't think the Iranians and China want Biden? You don't think that? Knowing full well that if he comes in, the first thing he's going to do is lift sanctions and get back in the Iran deal? And then he'll get rid of those tariffs? So, of course, everybody feels like they have some skin in the game. Now, would Biden accept any? What if he doesn't know what it's all about, right? What if he doesn't know? Because he's going to be looking for it. If he's the presidential candidate, everybody's going to be looking for dirt on each other. So we have a lot of questions about stuff, but I want to look at what we can do now. There's a lot of bills out there that Mitch McConnell's not even looking at. And a lot of those bills have to do with cybersecurity.
All of those bills are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, and the president and Mitch McConnell need to get to work to bring those bills to the Senate floor so we can complete our work for the American people.
Yeah, they killed some bills yesterday. And one of the bills, like, there's a lot of them I was looking at. I'm like, this is junk, right? But there's a few bills out there where I kind of like it, including the ad transparency. So you're buying an ad on Facebook or any of the social medias and whatnot. There's got to be true ad transparency. Not like a PAC who's putting something on television or radio, but, I mean, there's got to be some real transparency. But it's still hard to figure out because there's so many ways you can go about doing this. But we better figure out something. We also have an advantage of knowing now that this is happening. I think we're a bit naive in the last election cycle for president. I don't think we're as naive, but also look how much is changed with technology, and the deep fakes are going to be huge. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. How do we get ahead of it? And the Republicans, you better get ahead of this damn thing, right? I understand when people say Trump says it wasn't a hoax. Trump says it was a hoax. He didn't say it was a hoax, right? As far as he knows it happened. His frustration is everybody says the only reason he won was because of that. Hence the asterisks, and you're not a legitimate president. That would frustrate anybody. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, right? Like, I can guarantee you this right now. NBA championships wrapped up, about a month ago? And what is everybody saying? Well, Toronto won, but, did they really win? Because, Clay got hurt. There was no Kevin Durant. That really wasn't the Golden State team. So even though they won, that would be frustrating. And you're hearing it. That's the only reason they won. Who wouldn't be frustrated in something like that? And I also point to the fact that he wasn't president at the time. There was another person who was president. And one of his biggest fears was what? Hillary was going to win. If we alerted everybody to what was going on with Russia, Trump could come out and scream and yell and say, I lost because of Russia. Now it's about obstruction of justice, and we'll never know the truth on any of that. And we're not going to see him indict when he leaves. It's just not going to happen. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So Straight Pride Parade is going to be happening in Boston. And now there's trying to have one in Modesto, California. They're not the same thing. All right? They're not. The Straight Pride Parade in Boston, I can get behind because it's funny. It is satirical. They're having a laugh with it. Right? Like Milo Yiannopoulos, a gay man, is supposed to be the grand marshal of the whole thing. The one in Modesto is not that. It is not that.
Now Modesto. Plans for a straight pride parade are underway in the Central Valley city. A flyer circulating on social media is advertising the event in late August. So far, the city has not provided the event planner with a permit. Feelings about the event are mixed.
Yeah, mixed to say the least. And I have real trouble with this group here. This group here, if you go to their website, they are ugly, to say the least.
I don't think that we need to give a permit for anything that, when you go to the page, it talks about whiteness, it talks about Western civilization, it talks about being Caucasian.
I think it's ridiculous.
If I'm here, I'll be there. We have to have a voice. And don't all people at some point feel that way?
The man behind it says he is part of the group National Straight Pride Coalition. He says the event is his group's cultural answer to their opponents.
Let's read some of the National Straight Pride Coalition and some of the stuff that's on here. Right? First of all, you click on there and it's saving the next generation of babies. I have no problem with that. If you're pro-life, I got zero problem with that. I'm not going to sit here and hammer you. Right? That's a good thing. I understand choice. I wouldn't want to take away any of his choice. I'm all about getting a child a chance. That's me. I would make that choice. Other people can. That's there. I got zero problem with that. But then you start to scroll down, and this is when you get into the nitty-gritty. Heterosexuality, the natural biological foundation for human life and its continuance and ground upon which all civilization is built. We move on from there. The supremacy of the natural nuclear family of man, woman, and children. The unquestionable superiority, method, structure, institution by which to raise a child who are normal, natural, healthy, and sane. So they're going to go from there. But wait, we're not done. Masculinity. I've got zero problem with the masculinity. I think there's nothing wrong with masculinity. You throw the word toxic in front of it. You can toxic human beings. Femininity. Got no problem with that. I got no problem with some feminism. Right? Being strong. But then it gets to Western civilization. The West is the best. I agree with that. But the way they go about saying some of this stuff, you just sit back and go, Whiteness. The mass majority biological race components of developers of the Western civilization. And it just goes on from there. I have a problem with it. Sorry. It is not satirical. The one in Boston is fun. Right? The one in Boston, and the one in Boston is like, everybody come out. We're having a party. It's fun. They're poking fun at the whole thing. And I got no problem with that. Other people are taking it to, oh, these people are this, that, and the other. They're not. They're what, the super happy fun time or whatever that group's called. Right? They're having fun. This feels like we're making a statement. Crazy, loony, wackadoo, religious statement. And that's where I have a problem with it. But we live in a world, too, where the beauty of it is we live where there's free speech. And the freedom to assemble, the freedom to do your thing. And, you know, if you're going to protest one of them, protest the one that I sit here and go, that one in Modesto. The other one, go have fun. That's what it's about. Understand there's a difference between they're taking it really serious, and they've got some questionable things here, to say the least. And these people here are having a good time. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Instagram decided down under in Australia that they were no longer going to allow you to see how many likes you had. So if you are an influencer, that's how you make your money, by likes. So you're no longer going to be allowed to be seen at how many likes you actually have. You could see who liked you. There just won't be the number there, and it is killing the influencers down under.
I'm just trying to stay calm so I can get these words out properly, because they're not coming out. I just think I'm going to have a really big break from social media for a while, because it's really just, I know mentally Instagram for me is a problem.
Okay, well, at least she admitted that. Her name is Michaela Testa, and she looks like Australia's version of a little Kim Kardashian. But that's how she makes her money. And she says, look, you know, we can get up to $1,000 for 1,000 likes. And when you take this away, you take away the opportunity to earn money. And I think what Instagram is trying to do is figure out how do you balance that with the perfection in life and everybody trying to keep up with the Joneses and the depression and everything that's being linked to them, and also allow people that want to use your platform still because they are influencers. And if you take that away from them, they're going to decide they're going to want to go somewhere else. And guess what happens? Those people take with them the other people. So it is mandatory now in a few places, and Australia is one of them. Oh, man, social media. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Are you a zombie eater? Speaking of social media, so a new study out, 88% of us zombie eaters. What that means is we will be eating something, and the entire time we're eating something, we are staring at some sort of device, whether it's you're watching YouTube on a tablet, or you're watching something on your phone, or you're doing zombie eating. You're not paying any attention. You're just feeding the trough, you're scooping out of the trough, and you're reading something. 88%. Crazy, but true. And I see it. Like, I go down this little cafe downstairs, and there's a couple people that I see there every day, and they've got their headphones on, and they've got their YouTube right there that they're watching, or their Netflix, and they're just eating and shoveling stuff away and doing that. And I'm like, wow, we can't even get away from it. And they also said about 46% say they stay in at work and will eat in that desk so they can watch something, which is okay. I mean, I get that, right? It's like taking a deep breath. But zombie eaters, kids, that's us. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Let me tell you something, kids. Raycon. It's my new earbuds. They're pretty damn amazing. I'm not going to lie to you. They're pretty flat. They're pretty flat. Right? Like, I got these things, and I was like, this is insane. Because I'm very picky, especially when it comes to my headphones. And I love these. There's no stem, right? So they're earbuds. No stem. Bluetooth. Boom. Sound quality through the roof. Ray J, who put this together, is an entrepreneur. Man, he's worked in the music industry forever. He has got everybody who is in the music industry grabbing these things. Cardi B, Snoop Dogg, they love them. And you will too. How about this? The Raycon E50 wireless earbuds. They have completely changed the game. Beyond comfortable. And the price, unbeatable. So much cheaper than, I see so many people, they got to drop hundreds of bucks. My son's obsessed with some of these things. And they go out and they drop, he wants this. I'm like, no, it's ridiculous. You don't even understand. You can get better stuff, better quality. And guess what? Raycon is it. Absolutely it. Now, you can have the same amazing sound, incredible style, half the price. Get 15% off right now at buyraycon.com/Chad. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. If you've been looking at a pair, saying to yourself, I want to try something, no stems, no wires, totally stylish, half the price. Get yours now. Buyraycon.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
Pulling up to Jaguars training camp in Jacksonville Wednesday. Not a Jaguar or luxury SUV you'd expect from a two-time Pro Bowl cornerback seeking a new big money contract. It was an armored truck, the driver in a bulletproof vest shouting through a megaphone, "It's time to get this money, money." Jalen Ramsey flung open the doors, revealing dozens of phony money bags and a huge smile. Ramsey's entering the final year of his $23 million rookie contract. The Jaguars want Ramsey, but are unwilling to give him an extension with 2 years remaining.
Yeah, he outgrew his contract because he's so much better. And he had a hype man with him. Trying to get that money. A little bit of a hype man. Of course you get your money. It's football, for God's sakes. I'm glad he showed up, but it's football. You got a shelf life that's so much shorter than everything else in pro sports. But, bringing the hype man, I thought that made me laugh. I'm like, he brought a hype man? Oh, he brought a hype man. Oh, he did. Hey, good thing to do today, right? It is Miracle Treat Day. So if you go to Dairy Queen, right, $1 from every Blizzard purchase will go to the Children's Miracle Network. And I just think that's really cool because, first of all, you get to eat a Blizzard, which is awesome. And Children's Miracle Network Hospital is really cool. I was sitting there today thinking, if there's ever a reason that you should never need a reason. But if you want a reason, there's a perfect one. He's like, I'm doing it for charity. Good God. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. What will come of this entire craziness? I'm sure there'll be a little bit more fallout. But remember, tomorrow, they leave for their little vacation. And despite what Mrs. Pelosi says,
we will own August and make it too hot to handle for the Senate not to take up our bills.
Except for the part where you guys are going on vacation. So maybe September. Just getting up there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us your useless fact of the day. WD-40. Why do they call it that? Well, this company, Rocket Chemical, was trying to come up with a water displacement thing to stop rust, and that's where the WD came from, and it took them 40 tries to get it correct. Hence the reason they call it WD-40. Have a good rest of your day. We'll do it again tomorrow as always. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.